Hello, and welcome to the North Coast Journal Preview, where we take a look at the stories being followed in the current edition of the North Coast Journal. I'm your host, Dave Frank, and I'm joined today by Thad Greenson, news editor, and Jennifer Fumiko Cahill, arts and features editor. Welcome, guys.
Hi, Dave.
How you doing, Dave?
Pretty good. I'm pretty stoked for our conversation today because I recently purchased candy in anticipation of the weekend festivities, so I've got Halloween on the brain, and apparently so do you, Jen.
Wait, what kind of candy did you get?
I'm a chocolate person, so I go for like all the goods. Snickers, Kit Kat, Mounds. Those
Do
are the
people
go-tos.
come to your house?
None.
Like the kids come?
Nope.
No. So this is just for you.
Well, in case they come. It's in case they come.
That's a good plan. You have to get the candy you like, because if you're stuck with it,
Totally.
so sad. And then also, I don't know, what if in all the Halloween spookiness you get scared and you need to comfort eat?
Yeah, Kit Kat, I love you.
My experience though in our household, we can't get the candy too far in advance of Halloween, or else really bad things happen, and then we end up having to buy more candy and just feeling gross. Yeah. So we have not actually yet bought candy yet. I think tomorrow might be the day.
Our calendar editor, Kali Koziris, has expressed a desire to become that house where they have full-size bars.
Oh, no.
And, bully for her. I support this, but let me throw this out. What if you only had some full-size bars?
Oh, no.
And then, like a fickle god, you just decide who gets the full Snickers, who gets the,
You're inspiring
that?
costume competition kind of thing.
Kind of, or just like, dangling the possibility of full-size bars in front of children.
Broken spirits.
It's supposed to be scary.
Yeah. Speaking of scary, I think that's a great segue to your cover story. Jen, you want to tell us a little bit about what you guys have going on?
Yes, I am very excited because spooky season is upon us. It's been upon us, but this is the undeniable Halloween week. And so we have a couple of stories. It's called, the headline is A Tale of Two Hauntings. Technically, it's two tales of two hauntings. We have two fantastic local people, one of them being Alex Service, she of the Fortuna Depot Museum, and also she of the Haunted History Tours in Old Town, which actually that's where I met Alex. Years ago, I did a story on the haunted tours that take you through Old Town and tell you about all the reported hauntings and the history behind them and who they think it is and all the grisly stories of Old Town of yore. So she's got a story about things that she saw and heard in houses and particularly in the Eagle House, the historic Eagle House on her tours. The other story is from Dave Jervis, who is a local writer and enthusiast of local lore, stories, etc. Occasionally I will be like looking at his social media and he'll be like, there'll be just a photo of a house and he'll be like, remember in 1994, this house? And you're just like, really, Dave? Really? But he remembers everything. And he was a manager, I believe, in the Minor, at the Minor Theater for a while. And he worked there. I think he started working in the ticket booth or something, but eventually became manager. And he heard and saw creepy things in the Minor. And the building is from like 1914. So creepiness had to happen there. But so both of these lovely people who are very much tale spinners give us their spooky stories. In the case of the Eagle House with Alex Service, she's talking about not only the legend surrounding ghosts in the Eagle House, particularly around the stairs. And she does talk about how stairs seem to be a point of creepiness. Those of you living in ranch-style homes don't get to enjoy this. But those of us in old houses with stairs, you hear the creaking You hear the settling, you hear maybe footsteps. But she talks about how stairs are considered liminal spaces between kind of two spaces, right? Two worlds, as it were. And so stairs are a place. She talks about a house that she lived in for a while that had spooky stair activity, and that some of the Eagle House reported haunting is on the stairs. And not only did she kind of, tell the stories that other people have heard, but even sometimes on her tours, people would talk about a weird feeling they got, something they heard spoken to them. And even one person who was a self-reported psychic who had some sort of communication with a ghost on the stairs.
Whoa.
For David Jervis, it's a little bit even more weird and murky in the sense that, he heard things when no one was there. Another person heard things when no one was there. People felt the creepy sense that somebody was coming up close behind them and no one's there. But also the minor is built in such a way that you could do some serious Scooby-Dooing in there. It's got a trap door. It's got all kinds of it was a theater that was used by, vaudeville performers. Oh, supposedly wow. Harry Houdini, it's apocryphal, but Harry Houdini performed there. So you would need all kinds of, apparatus to do that kind of act. So you can imagine what vaudeville performers would need in terms of, secret exits and ways to get backstage fast. And so if you wanted to put on a rubber mask and scare some nosy kids, you could definitely do it. But they're kind of wonderful local tales. And while being in an actual haunted house, my understanding from movies does not look fun, but hearing about a haunted house is the best. And when the haunted history tours come back eventually, I strongly recommend taking them. They're really fun. And you're getting your steps in, getting your chills. It's a good time. And you learn a lot about local history and what Eureka was like when it was, first becoming Eureka, the town. It's pretty great stuff.
So I didn't know that there were these ghost tours or haunted tours of the town. And a colleague of mine, I told when I was previewing the article, and apparently it's a thing that many people seem to know about, but it was off my radar. I wanted to ask you, so Alex gives these tours. What's the creepiest or weirdest thing in her story? Not to cut to the chase, but was there some element that was particularly creepy to you?
In the story or in the tours?
No, in the story. Yeah.
I think in the story, it becomes a little bit of a murder mystery. They still kind of don't know who it is that was is haunting the stairs, but one of the people who says they heard something, communicated something with the ghost, said that it was a murder made to look like a suicide.
Oh.
So, if anybody wants to do some ghost sleuthing, that's a place for you to start.
That's pretty cool. Well, you've gotten me intrigued again, even though I've already read these articles. So highly recommend checking them out. They're really cool. Thad, how about you? What you've got going on this week that we can talk about today?
Well, on the news front, the big story that we have this week is by our digital editor, Kim Weir, who wrote about the situation going on the Arcata City Council, which is one of those frustrating stories to report, honestly, because we feel like there's a lot more that we don't know than what we know, but trying to kind of piece together the situation with Brett Watson being removed or stepping down as mayor. It's a little unclear exactly how that went. But basically, I think the local community was somewhat blindsided last week when kind of abruptly we got a meeting agenda, a special meeting agenda from the city of Arcata saying that the council was considering replacing Brett Watson, who has been mayor there since the start of the year and has been on the council since 2017. And was considering a no confidence vote in Watson. And so kind of what we know at this point is some might remember that back in August, then Mayor Watson was arrested for driving under the influence and drug possession, and quickly, issued a statement saying, that he regretted his actions and that he was having a hard time dealing with. At that point, it was the year anniversary of his father's death, and then the following month, he pled guilty, reached a plea agreement with the district attorney's office, and seemed to kind of quickly take responsibility for his actions. And I think was bound to take some treatment programs, some outpatient programs, and then also do some community service work. And so, we weren't really sure what to make when this notice of the meeting came up. And then at the meeting on October 20th, now Vice Mayor Goldstein read kind of a prepared statement that was very, very ambiguous about why exactly the council was taking this action. And so, council members don't have the ability to recall a fellow council member or to remove them from office, so that they were kind of limited in what power they had. But in Arcata, it's a 5-member council, and the mayor position rotates among them. And so I think it's every December or every January, the council gets together and votes on who their new mayor is going to be, and that person serves in the mayor role for a year, and then it goes on to somebody else. And so what the council had decided was it was going to take this action to basically strip him of his mayorship, and then issue a no confidence vote in him. And, during the meeting, again, now Vice Mayor Goldstein read, some kind of vague comments about how the council wasn't taking the situation lightly, but couldn't say much about it. She said that they couldn't align themselves with Brett Watson's actions. And at one point and another point saying that, over the week prior to that meeting, some information had come to light about alleged actions by Watson that reflected poorly on the city and some of its staff members. And I think they expressed some concern for staff members. And so we've been now trying to figure out kind of exactly what happened here. And then I should add, a couple days after the meeting, Watson issued a statement where he didn't say kind of what his future on the council will be, whether he's stepping down or intending to hold on to the council member role, but said that he was going into a 30-day treatment program, and that his first task is to kind of focus on himself and making sure he's well before he figures out how to serve the community moving forward. It's a unique situation in which we are at once very, sympathetic to somebody's privacy who's going through a really intense personal time, a really challenging personal time, and evidently facing some substance use issues. But at the same time, when folks representing the city make kind of allegations about how somebody's conduct has impacted city staff, and that there's, vague references to these allegations against somebody, we feel there's, especially when it's somebody in a leadership position like the mayor was, we feel like there's some, that the city as an entity has some obligation to both legally and morally to be transparent. I mean, after all, thousands and thousands of people voted for Mr. Watson back in 2019 when he was elected to the board, and wanted to see him, presumably fulfill his term. So essentially what we've been able to put together of all this is that whatever happened kind of came to a head at a meeting on October 13th. The city had a closed session meeting that was agendized as kind of them talking about significant exposure to litigation. So fear that the city or somebody working for the city had done something that might get the city sued. And what we understand is Watson was at that meeting and had indicated to the city manager and the city attorney, at least a couple of days prior to that meeting, that he had informally stepped down as mayor. Now, one does not informally step down as mayor. It's, not to be crass about it, but it's kind of like being pregnant. You are or you are not. And especially, when somebody holds that role for a city, there are times when it becomes very important in critical incidents and stuff like that. So it's kind of a chain of command issue that somebody needs to be in that role. And apparently the city, it seems like, gave Watson some time to see if he wanted to make an announcement, if he wanted to make a formal decision. And there was just kind of radio silence. And so finally agendized that meeting on October 20th to for his fellow council members to take action and chart a course forward.
So there's an element to this that you're close to sharing, but didn't quite get to that point. There, like you said, the chain of command issue, the accessibility issue. When you step down temporarily as mayor, you're still an elected council member. So can you tell us a little bit about that requirement to be around and be available, and then how that may, if you miss a meeting, for example, you're potentially violating that responsibility?
Yeah, when you're an elected official, such as Arcata City Council members are, you take an oath of office, and one of the part of that is being present and making your whereabouts known. And so, a provision of both the Arcata Municipal Code and I think state law is that an elected council member who misses, I think it's 60 days of consecutive meetings, of scheduled meetings, without kind of being granted leave, can be removed from office by that agency. And, we're a little bit in murky waters here, in that we don't, former Mayor Watson announced that he was going into rehab. He sent out the press, kind of a press release looking statement that was on city letterhead and stuff. According to the city manager, that didn't go through the city in any kind of a formal process. And so we don't honestly know if he has officially notified the city that he's going to be absent for 30 days at this point. And, depending on, I don't know how much experience folks have with residential treatment programs, but, often it's not 30 days. It ends up becoming longer than that. And we're unclear at this point how much communication, if any, he has had with city officials about what his plans are, whether he's been granted some kind of leave, or whether kind of the clock is ticking. We just don't know.
So from this point, we just have to hope, not even hope, just look forward to hearing a little bit more about the evolution of notification, and also how the city is going to choose to proceed with disclosure of what precipitated this in the first place.
Yeah, the city manager Deemer indicated to us that the city is now kind of mulling next steps as far as whether to have some kind of formal investigation done into whatever these allegations are, as a kind of fact-finding mission to get more information. And then the second part of that question will be what of that, if it's done, is disclosed to the public. And I think it was Vice Mayor Goldstein who indicated that there are some privacy concerns of other individuals other than Watson in this whole equation. As I kind of indicated before, from our standpoint, I think we feel there is some obligation to be clear about what maybe not the sort of details, but kind of exactly what's been alleged and what the city's going to do about it. And so I think that for the Journal, our next step is to file some Public Records Act requests and see what we can piece together from kind of official documentation.
Well, excellent. We look forward to hearing what you guys are able to uncover, and then also possibly when you cover the next city council meeting, which I think is next week. So to be continued.
Yep. Thanks, David.
Awesome. Well, thank you for this update. Jennifer, let's speak with you a little bit more about Halloween. I think that's the theme of the day here. What else do you have on your radar when it comes to Halloween celebrations and fun?
Well, full disclosure, the Journal has a very heavy Halloween bias. If you visit the office on any business or anything, you will see that the entire place is decorated like a haunted house. Mark, who is, in our office every day, he does all the classifieds and stuff. He is in full, professional Hollywood makeup costume every day during October, not the week of Halloween, not Halloween Day, October.
No joke. 10 days ago, I stopped by the office to pick something up and was just at my desk briefly and just glanced up, and he was in some zombie hospital patient garb, just hovering at my doorway. It was terrifying.
I once went in the office. This was a previous year. I once went in the office and I was talking to somebody in the bookkeeper's office, and I felt a tug on my purse, and I looked, and there was Mark on the ground dressed as a haunted doll child. And did I scream high-pitched? Maybe I did. So there's that. And then it turns out that our production wizard, Dave Brown, is also a master of pumpkin decoration and made the most amazing Slimer pumpkin that's now sitting like a full 3D Slimer out of pumpkin, is sitting in our office. We're pretty heavy into Halloween. But we also got some of our favorite folks from the community to contribute, including Meg Walwild did a great Get Out story about taking walks through different cemeteries, looking at both famous local Humboldtians, like from the Boone family, Carson, all these sort of famous people, but then also looking at some of the anonymous, random, everyday people who were buried and their interesting epitaphs and even headstones. My favorite is the one that said he was killed by capitalism.
Oh, my goodness.
Same. And then also Michael Logan, I have finally twisted that man's arm. He does a lot. He organizes the library movie nights, which I so enjoy taking part of. And I really hope they come back soon. He is a classic movie guru, and he has listed a bunch of his favorite spooky movies, beginning with Nosferatu and ending with something that involves Elvis, JFK, and a mummy. So, something for everyone. And also, I have a story this week on Pan de Muerto, more specifically, the Day of the Dead bread, which is for the Mexican holiday Dia de los Muertos, that's made at the El Pueblo Market and Panaderia, which is also home of the El Pueblo, Tacos El Pueblo truck, which producer for this show, Matt, loves that taco truck. Anyway, as do we all. But it was a really great opportunity for me to learn not only how they're made. They are, to the owner, Engelberto Tejera's knowledge, the only place in Humboldt that's baking all of this on the premises, like a real old-fashioned Pan de Muerto. The one at Los Bagels is a little different, but they're the only traditional Mexican bakery doing this in Humboldt County, as far as he knows. People make them in their homes, and people might do a little bit, but as far as like getting local pan dulce, this is the spot. And, he showed me how he makes them. And it's always a pleasure watching someone make something when they've made a million of them, right? How it just like you roll, you do a couple, you move your hand, and all this formed thing is in your hand. It's bizarre. But also he told me the story of how he learned to make them. He was not a baker. He learned to do retail through a million jobs he had, and he started the store. And when they got the place on Broadway, which you might remember burned down, and people were rending their garments because they could not get conchas there. So when he got the bigger place with room for a bakery, he hired a guy from Mexico who his name was Antonio Noguez, and he taught him, he made everything. He had no recipes, nothing written down. He had it all up here, and he made dozens of kinds of everything from cheesecakes to cookies to conchas to everything. And anyway, he was cranking all that stuff up, and then he fell ill. And he had always said, to Tejera, like, oh, well, you need to learn to make all of this stuff. I'll teach you to do it. And he was like, no. I don't want to do it. I just want to work the retail. But then at some point, after this older gentleman fell ill, and he'd been baking since he was like 12, he fell ill, and there was nobody to bake. The shelves were empty. And he realized, you know what, this guy's old. He can't work forever. And so he instead paid him to come sit in the bakery and show him how to bake. He would point, get this, get that, mix this, etc. And after a lot of trial and a lot of error, he learned to do it. And since then, Mr. Noguez has passed away. But I can't think of any better tribute to him than to go and eat the pan de muerta that is, his passed on oral tradition recipe for making this traditional bread. Anyway, Mr. Tejera is there selling that stuff at El Pueblo. So while you're getting your tacos, while you're getting your burrito, what does Matt get? Is it the chicken burrito? I can't remember. Pick up a bag of pan de muerta. It's lovely. Oh, it's the pork burrito. I don't know what I was thinking. It's the carnitas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, get some, and it's just lovely. And until you've had it fresh and warm from the oven, you just don't know.
Right on.
Small correction. I'm getting word it is in fact the pastor.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a carnitas person. So maybe you're remembering me. I'm an El Pueblo carnitas person.
Yes,
so
that's what it is.
You
I'm
confused
so sorry.
me and Matt. That's quite all right.
So sorry.
Well, thank you for sharing all this Halloween festive spirit with us from the North Coast Journal and also El Pueblo. I'm definitely going to go get some of that Pan de Muerto because it sounds great with cinnamon and everything, right up my alley. Till next time, guys. Thank you. We appreciate everything. North Coast Journal is on newsstands now. Pick one up. Stay informed. Also available online anytime. Until next week, stay informed, stay healthy, stay safe, and have fun on Halloween. Take care.
Keep it spooky.